Let's bring in Byron York, Washington Examiner chief political correspondent, Fox News contributor. You know, Byron, you wrote a beautiful column today. I'm so happy we could get you on the show to talk about this. You even got into some of the details. I mean, the financial details here, they're difficult details, and we probably can't answer them all. I tried to lay them out in my riff, but your point is this is just politics. This is just weaponization. And I think, Brian, I mean, let me ask you, politically, you're a political analyst, expert analyst. When people look at this, what do you think they think? Ordinary people, people that may not like Trump, people that won't even vote for Trump. What could they possibly think watching this?
Well, as you know, the most aggressive anti-Trumpers have said for years that Donald Trump has to be held accountable for whatever it is he has done. And this is really Letitia James' contribution to that. You played that sound of her pledging to bring down Trump. I mean, that was her campaign platform, to bring down Trump. And by the way, she's the Attorney General. She could have indicted the former president, but wasn't able to get a charge together on this evidence, and the feds couldn't do that either. So she files this lawsuit to try to bankrupt and destroy the former president's financial empire. And as you were saying, this verdict is a real step toward that. And by the way, there was no jury in this case. It was Judge Engoron's decision and his alone. And he explains in the decision that the law did not give Trump a right to a jury trial. So it's not like his lawyers made any mistake and forgot to ask for a jury trial. The law did not allow Trump a jury trial in this case. You know, that's one reason, Byron. First of all, it's a very important point that you make. And second of all, it's why I've raised the point here. You know, where's Trump's free speech? Where's his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Where's his right to constitutional rights? They wouldn't even let a jury trial here. And as you know, the judge made up his mind, you know, before. This was effectively a show trial. The judge had made up his mind and told everybody before. And as I think you also know, in New York, the way it works, you know, the state Supreme Court is not a high-level court. It's a lower-level court. There are no primaries. Republicans don't run anymore. The judges are picked by Democratic clubhouses, in effect, as Engoron was years ago. So what kind of democracy is this? What kind of legal system is this? And that's why I ask, folks looking at this, if they pay any attention to it at all, have to walk away figuring out Trump has been railroaded big time. What was extraordinary about this is, you know, Trump was found guilty of overvaluing his properties. And what was interesting is in the decision, Judge Engoron says that Trump showed absolutely no contrition. He never said he was sorry or he erred or was at fault. And then Judge Engoron said, but you know, overvaluing the properties to save money is a venial sin. It's not a mortal sin. Trump didn't kill anybody. He didn't commit arson. He's not Bernie Madoff. The judge specifically said that. And then the judge applied a near-death penalty to Trump. And, you know, one thing that's interesting, you were discussing earlier, with this maybe $450 million judgment, Trump has to come up with the money just to appeal. Yes. Okay, so you're convicted of something, for example, and you have to sell your house to get the money to be able to appeal, and then you win the appeal, but your house is gone. So this is a real problem for Trump now. Yeah, I mean, let's bring in the great Jonathan Turley, who's been discoursing about this. And you called it, Jonathan, insidious, from, let me put in, George Washington University and Fox legal contributor, just all around a hero guy. You've been working hard. But, you know, Jonathan, you have to basically put your life up, everything you did, your building. I don't even know. Maybe you could tell me legally, can insurance companies operating in New York, can they guarantee this bond, this surety bond that may have to be guaranteed before it gets to the Court of Appeals and the appellate court? I mean, to say it's not fair is almost beside the point. To say it's politically driven, however, I think is closer to the point. But now you tell me the legal point. He can't go to New York banks. Can he go to New York insurance companies? Or who's going to put up this bond?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because he's barred from doing business in New York. There's two issues here. One is he can bring up the cash, which is going to be obviously quite difficult, or he can seek a bond. If he does get a bond, it'll come at a premium cost, which means that even if he prevails, it will cost him millions and millions of dollars just to get that bond. He could go to the trial court or the Court of Appeals and ask for a waiver from the bonding or deposit requirement. But in the end, it just adds to this rather awful, the rather awful optics. You have this use of a statute in a way that's never been done before. The imposition of what amounts to $455 million on, even though there were no victims that lost a single penny. And then in order to appeal that, to just get someone to look at the decision of this one judge, you have to produce something that's equivalent to the GNP of a small nation.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, where'd that number come from? 355 plus 10% interest, 455. Where'd that number come from? Where's the, heavens forbid, the word proportionality? But it's proportionate to what? Nobody lost money here.
Well, when you drill down on this opinion, you hit an air pocket. There's not a lot there. He basically highballed every possible figure he could find, but much of it is speculative. For example, the court says, if he had revealed the true information, the bank would have required more difficult terms and cost him more money and had higher interest rates. That's not at all clear. I mean, the Trump organization was famous for squeezing banks precisely because they were, as the witnesses described, a whale client. The banks themselves said, no, we made a lot of money on this and we wanted more business from Trump. So a lot of this is rather speculative.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't figure either. Byron, what are the politics here? How does this impact the presidential race?
Well, this is one of those cases that Republicans have just completely rejected as an unfair targeting of the former president. So it affects him not at all in the Republican primary, except to the effect that it adds his support, to that extent that it adds to his support. So it just doesn't change anything. As far as the resistance or anti-Trumpers are concerned, they're basically adding this $450 million penalty to the $83 million penalty from the second E. Jean Carroll case, to the $5 million penalty from the first E. Jean Carroll case, and kind of high-fiving each other that so far this lawfare has cost Trump more than $500 million. And here again, the idea is to bring him down. The idea of the actual prosecutors, Alvin Bragg in New York, Fani Willis in Georgia, and Jack Smith in the two federal cases, is to actually put him in jail. And that story starts on March 25th with the criminal trial in New York.
Jonathan Turley, just last thought. This will sound political, but it's not meant to be political. What I want to ask you is, look, New York is a one-horse town. It's a Democratic town. There's only probably 13 Republicans left in Manhattan. I know everyone and their cell phone number. So we'll just put that aside for a minute. But there's something wrong with a system where judges get elected at a fairly local level, essentially by clubhouses. Now, if it were a Republican city like this and it was Republican clubhouses, I'd probably like that outcome more, Jonathan, but I would probably still ask the same question. How can this be a good system? It is so predicated on political bias. And essentially, these are clubhouse. People come, non-lawyers, they vote, let's endorse so-and-so. He has no opposition in the primary, and you get an Arthur Engeron and you get a judicial system like this. You see what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm asking you more of a constitutionalist process question. There's got to be a better way here.
I think there is a better way. The problem is that New York was always Democratic. It's always had its problems. It's had its avenging district attorneys. But what it also had was the premier corporate law system.
Right.
That is, not only was this the center of business, it was the center of business law. And that has been shattered here. So a lot of businesses could put up with a lot of the nonsense, the political rhetoric, the eat the rich campaigns, because they could rely on this legal system. That's gone now. I mean, the face of the New York corporate law system is now Letitia James. And that's a face that launched 1,000 ships towards Florida. I mean, there's, why would Trump or other companies stick around to see who's going to be the next target?
Well put, Jonathan Turley. Well put. You're exactly right. Byron York, thank you ever so much. Great column today. We'll see how this stuff plays out.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll see how it plays out.